You ever wonder why your favorite films make you feel a certain way? The way you feel about a certain character on screen? The way a hallway can feel as a protagonist moves through? The adrenaline you can feel during an intense fight scene? This is all thanks to the music that plays in the background. The eerie sound of an orchestra adding to the horror, the fast paced sounds increasing your heart rate as well as your stress level, the somber music making you want to cry your heart out because a character ends up having a tragic ending or doesn't get the one they want. You ever Hello, my name is Jocelyn. If you're new here, welcome. If you're a returning fan, welcome back. Today we're going to dive into why music is so important to movies and TV shows. So let's get to it. There was a time when film existed in complete silence, an era defined not by what audiences heard, but what they imagined. The silent era of cinema, spanning roughly 1894 to 1927, was a period of rapid experimentation, innovation, and artistic discovery. On screen, viewers saw expressive faces, exaggerated gestures, and inner titles standing in for dialogue. What they didn't hear were the voices, footsteps, or subtle textures of everyday sound, something you would hear on your way to work, walking through the halls on campus. And yet, despite this absence, early films were anything but quiet. Theaters often featured live pianists, organists, or even full orchestras to bring the emotion and rhythm to the moving images that they saw on screen. Long before synchronized sound became a reality, inventors were already dreaming about it. Figures like Edward Muybridge and Thomas Edison played pivotal roles in shaping the foundations of motion picture technology. Muybridge's groundbreaking motion studies, captured through the sequential photographs, led to the creation of the zoopraxiscope. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I hope so. And names. Names are going to be hard. But the zoopraxiscope is a device that projected images in a rapid succession to simulate movement. His work proved that motion could be captured, analyzed, and displayed, laying essential groundwork for cinema itself. Think of a stop motion, like a clay animation you see. Just individual pictures creating movement. And that's what he was going for. Edison, meanwhile, was developing technologies that would eventually intersect with film. His phonograph, invented in 1877, was the first device capable of recording and reproducing sound. Edison believed that moving pictures and recorded audio were destined to merge, and he spent years attempting to synchronize the two. Although his early attempts, such as the kinetophone, were mechanically unreliable, they represented some sort of the earliest efforts to marry sound and image into a unified cinematic experience. These innovations, along with the contributions from countless other inventors and studios, set the stage for the eventual breakthrough of synchronized sound in the late 1920s. When The Jazz Singer premiered in 1927 with synchronized dialogue, it marked the symbolic end of the silent era and the beginning of a new chapter in film history. One where the technology and storytelling would evolve together in ways early pioneers like Muybridge and Edison had only imagined. Music isn't just background noise. It's one of the most powerful emotional tools we interact with every single day. Shapes our moods, inspires memories, and helps us make sense of the world around us. But its impact becomes more profound when paired with visual storytelling. In my last video, I talked about how I sometimes listen to music while reading because it enhances the story I'm experiencing. The same idea applies to movies and TV shows, except on a much bigger scale. Filmmakers intentionally use music to guide how we feel, what we anticipate, and how we can deeply connect to a scene, a character, a setting, every aspect of the story. And a single melody can turn an ordinary moment into something unforgettable. Think about it. A suspenseful score can make your heart race before anything even happens on screen. A soft piano theme can make a quiet moment feel intimate and vulnerable. And the triumphant swell of strings can make your character's victory feel like your very own. Music becomes the emotional translator between the story and the audience. It's what tells us what words really can't. It fills the silence with meaning. It gives the scenes their heartbeat, their purpose. And just like how music enhances the books I read, it enhances the stories we watch. Without it, movies and TV shows would feel flat, like something essential is missing. Music helps us feel the story, not just watching it. From the earliest days of cinema to the rise of prestige television, music has shaped the way we experience this visual storytelling. Whether it's a feature film or a multi-season series, the soundtrack becomes that emotional backbone to the story. Movies and TV shows both rely very heavily on music to heighten tension, deepen character arcs, and create those unforgettable moments that leave that impact for life. Some of the most iconic names in the film world and its history aren't actors or directors at all, but the composers that kind of hide behind the scene. Famous names like John Williams, Hans Zimmer, Howard Shore, Hildur Gonagder, Ludwig Göransson. Sorry if I butchered those names completely. But along with those, there are so many others who have shaped the emotional language of modern movies. Their scores don't just accompany the scenes, they define them. They create motifs that become cultural touchstones, instantly recognizable even outside the context of the film. Examples like the Jurassic Park theme, the Star Wars theme, just those instantly recognizable parts that you could just hear it and be like, that's that movie, that's that. I've heard that before. That one's about this. Over time, I've noticed that most movies and television series fall into three broad categories based on how they use music. Each category creates a different emotional experience for the audience. The first category I sort movies and TV shows into is what I like to call orchestral soundtracks. This is the classic timeless approach to film music, the kind that makes a story feel larger than life. These scores rely on strings, brass, woodwinds, percussion, and sometimes choir to build these vast emotional landscapes. These soundtracks often use recurring musical themes to represent characters, ideas, or moments. Think of the way a single melody can signal danger, hope, or nostalgia before a character even speaks on screen. Orchestral soundtracks are especially powerful in genres like fantasy, sci-fi, and drama because they elevate the world building. They make the story feel mythic, immersive, and emotionally rich. Some examples of movies that would fall into this category would be Star Wars, Jurassic Park, How to Train Your Dragon, the first one specifically, and then Interstellar. These are movies I think that represent orchestral soundtracks very well. And then some TV shows that follow into this category are like Avatar: The Last Airbender, The Crown, Planet Earth, and Game of Thrones. And an easy, like, reoccurring musical theme is the Game of Thrones medley, like the main theme you hear at the beginning of each episode. That is a signal of, hey, this is Game of Thrones. This is what to expect. This is the kind of world we're going to hop into. The second category that I kind of sort movies and TV shows into is what I like to call trackless soundtracks. These soundtracks feel grounded, modern, and deeply personal. Instead of relying on composed scores, filmmakers curate songs that already exist in the world. This creates a direct emotional connection because the audience often brings their own memories and associations with those songs, creating relatability. Trackless soundtracks can define a film's identity. They can make a scene feel nostalgic, rebellious, romantic, or chaotic. Musicals take this even further by letting songs become the storytelling. Characters express their emotions, motivations, and conflicts through music itself. This category is especially common in coming of age films, indie movies, and anything that leans into cultural or emotional realism. Some of the movies that kind of fall into this category is like Barbie, 10 Things I Hate About You, La La Land, Into the Wild. And a lot of kind of TV shows follow trackless soundtracks. A lot of, I would say, newer TV shows that are coming out are more based off of that. Things like Euphoria, the new Off Campus show, The Summer I Turned Pretty, and Glee. These are all TV shows that heavily rely on either covers or songs that are already released from artists in the music industry. So I feel like trackless soundtracks is a good category for a lot of TV shows. And the final category for movies and TV shows is what I like to call a complex soundtrack. This hybrid approach gives filmmakers the best of both worlds. The orchestral score provides the emotional depth and continuity, while the tracklist adds personality, humor, and cultural grounding. Complex soundtracks are dynamic. They shift depending on the tone of the scene. For example, a superhero might have a sweeping orchestral theme during a dramatic moment, but the film might cut to a pop or rock track during a comedic or character-driven scene. Beautiful example is Deadpool and Wolverine. This creates contrast, texture, and a more layered emotional experience, creating laughter, sadness, every kind of emotion you can think of, by using both orchestras and curated playlists. Complex soundtracks are especially effective in big franchises because they help balance epic storytelling with relatable human moments. Something I realized as I developed this category for this video was the fact that every Disney musical, like Tangled, is technically a complex soundtrack due to the musical numbers like I've Got a Dream, as well as the full orchestral underscore during those tense moments. So, examples that fall into this category is The Lion King, Disney musical, Black Panther, Top Gun Maverick, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and probably one of my favorite examples, Guardians of the Galaxy, both volumes 1 and 2, and 3. All three of them. I forget this. There's 3. But all 3 of them have complex soundtracks, and I even have records for the first one, and it has one with all the licensed music, so the curated playlist, and then the sound, like the underscore that goes with it. And there are also TV shows that follow in suit with it. Stranger Things, The Umbrella Academy, The Last of Us, Breaking Bad, and Wednesday. These all use music to create the story, to help along with the story, but also have the orchestra ready in the background. Music has always been the heartbeat of visual storytelling. Whether it's a sweeping orchestral score, a curated track list, or a complex blend of both, soundtracks shape the way we feel stories long before we even realize it. Thank you so much for joining me on this little journey through film and TV music. If you enjoyed this breakdown, feel free to stick around, like and subscribe to continue enjoying the vibes. There's so much more I want to explore, to tinker with, to mess around with. Until next time, keep noticing the details. They're what makes stories come alive. I'll see you next week. Bye.